Welcome. Today is going to be a little bit different type of video, something I haven't done before, but something that I definitely want to start doing on my channel. Now, first I have a few things to say. I am in my new house, as per my last video, whether you watched it or didn't watch it. I have moved into a new house, and I actually have my own room for filming. So I'm actually in it now. It's quite bare. There's not really much in it. Filming equipment there, you know, stuff over here. But I wanted to stay active on my channel, and I wanted to still get videos out. So I'm recording even though I look like crap and there's not much in my room, because, you know, I like to put videos out. Gives me things to concentrate on, keeps me motivated, stops me from being bored. So in another quest to banish my boredom, I've been reading like crazy. So much, because we are waiting for our internet provider to connect our internet. No TV or anything at the time, which is fine by me. You know, I didn't have TV a lot growing up, so books were something that I always used. My son enjoys books, so now that we're in the new house and things are a little bit empty and boring, I went and I've been collecting books for the past few months because I knew we were going to be moving and then I'd be bored. So, and then I went to my library today and I picked up a few more, and I'm almost finished with that book already, actually. So, yes, I would like to keep doing this. I would like to keep putting videos out about my books that I'm reading, whether I recommend them or not, what I thought of them, short summaries, you know, stuff like that, because why not, right? Because I like to share them. I mean, nobody asks you, what books did you read this week? You know, so me making videos about it and me telling about it is me sharing my reading and my book. So yes, I don't just want to talk about books that I've recently finished. I also want to talk about books that I've picked up, that I plan on reading, that I'm looking for, and you know, I would love to hear back from anybody interested. What books would you recommend? What do you think of the books I've described? Now, I've got a whole pile here, and only 2 of them are ones I haven't finished, maybe 3. So I will just get into it. Okay, well, we'll start at the bottom of the pile. The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, I almost threw a G in there. Hawkins. I know they recently made this into a movie. I have not seen the movie. I'm kind of one of those people that once I've read the book about it, I have no interest in the movie because it will ruin the book for me. I mean, even if they make the best, most truest, realistic movie to the book and complements the book to a T, it'll still ruin it for me in some way, because this is how I envision the characters, this is what they looked like, this is what I imagine the town they lived in looked like. I can't watch a movie and have it ruined for me. It'll just destroy me. So yes, for anybody who doesn't know The Girl on the Train, I'm sure you've seen the previews for the movie. It was a big thing for a while. They hyped it up. Anyway, this is the description on the back of the book. Rachel catches the same commuter train every morning. She knows it will wait the same signal each time, overlooking a row of back gardens. She is starting to feel like she knows the people who live in one of the houses. Their life, as she sees it, is perfect. If only Rachel could be happy. And then she sees something shocking, and in one moment, everything changes. Now Rachel has a chance to become a part of the lives she's only watched from afar. Now they'll see she's so much more than just the girl on the train. Now, in my short description of the book, it's about a woman who's very alone, very just lonely, and she has a job that she commutes to every day, and that's all she does, and she just goes home, goes to sleep and drinks, and she's just a lonely middle-aged woman, no children, no husband. And as it says on the description of the book, one day she's on a train, the train she rides every day to work, and she sees these people, and something happens, and, you know, the police are called, and there's an investigation, and she feels obligated to say something. And I don't want to give the ending of the book away because I want to encourage people to read it for themselves, because not a lot of people read these days, I see. But yes, the end of it's one of those books where it drags you on, and you find yourself getting frustrated by the lack of developments in the book. I mean, that was me. I'm, like, who in their right mind wouldn't speak up about this, or who in their right mind, wouldn't say something at this point, whatever, and that happened quite a bit. Like, the story wasn't wrapped up until like the last 10-15 pages, and stuff like that really frustrates me, because I really like to be interested the whole time, and I don't think that the writer should rely on the last 10 pages to wrap up the book, because it's so much more than that. I like the end of the book to be like, what happened after? How did it end? How did this person continue to live their lives? I need closure, and just solving the mystery is not closure enough for me. I like to go that extra 10 steps. So, yes, I liked the book. I don't regret reading the book. It was a good read. But definitely, as I said, it did have points where I was just like, what? Why would you, I don't want to give it away, but yeah. Okay, so what do I think the reader or the writer could have fixed about the book? I don't know, it's hard to explain. In the book, the woman that the story's about, she's like a coward. And I understand that was her. That was the writer was staying true to the characteristics of the woman, and someone just doesn't wake up one day and decide they don't want to be a coward anymore. But that was very stressful and frustrating for me as an outgoing woman to read and follow along the story of somebody who's a coward. So that was probably one of the most frustrating things for me. I wouldn't necessarily change it, because it worked into her story in the end. But, yeah. Change it, not change it, I don't know. Okay. How could the writer have made it better? Just not wait until the last 10 pages to conclude the book. Come on. Not for me. Okay, out of 10, would I rate it? Should you read it? I don't know. I'd say like a 7 or 8. Girl on the Train. Next. Looking for Alaska by John Green. I really didn't like this book. I really did not like this book. This book was like a dry piece of toast with nothing to drink. Okay, I don't see what the hype of this book was about. It frustrated me. It annoyed me. I got bored. I think I even fell asleep when I was reading this book. You just get to be like, when is it going to get exciting? Okay, I better explain it, huh? Miles Halter's whole life has been one big non-event until he meets Alaska young. Gorgeous, clever, and undoubtedly screwed up, Alaska draws Miles into a reckless world and irrevocably steals his heart. For Miles, nothing can ever be the same again. Very vague. Okay, so there's this boy, lives in a town, boring, never had anything exciting happen to him, until one day his father says, I want you to go to the school that I went to. And it's pretty much like a boarding school, he lives there all the time. And he meets a girl and he falls in love with her, and she's crazy and she drinks and she smokes and everything that this boy doesn't do. And obviously he falls in love with her. Now something happens, and that's what the whole book is about, but that's all that ever happens. There's like, I think it was another last 50 pages of the book before something happened that made me relatively even interested to finish it, to get to the end. So it was really boring, really slow. I found myself not relating to the characters. I mean, I can't say that I'm a teenage boy in love, but yeah. How could the writer have made it better? I don't know. I'm assuming it's not based off true events, so he really could have went anywhere with it. You know, if I was at a boarding school and I had my own room with roommates who drank and all this stuff, you would have thought it would have been more fun than the book was, but it wasn't. It was just, I mean, if you went through this book and counted how many times Miles studied, Miles took a test, Miles went to class, it's just, oh my gosh, probably in the hundreds. Don't have a drinking game, you'll die. So yeah, it was just really slow. That's how I think the writer could have made it better. Anything to just not make it so slow. Would I recommend it? Like 5 out of 10, honestly. I only read it because there was kind of a hype around it. And usually I can relate to the hype. I have some hype books that I actually quite liked, you know, like Girl on the Train. I mean, it wasn't the best thing I've ever read, but it was worth reading. This, on the other hand, I don't know. Looking for Alaska. Next, Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt. Now, I just finished this recently. This is one of the more sooner ones that I finished. Now look at this boy's face. Is that not the creepiest shit you've ever seen? That was what made me pick this book up, honestly, because this kid looks like he's seen some shit. I don't know if this is actually Frank here because this is the story of Frank's life, the writer. I don't know if this is him, but I feel really sorry for him if it is, because this kid, he's, you know, he needs some love because he's sad right now. Okay. This doesn't really have a summary in it, I don't think, honestly. Yeah, no, I will just sum it up in a way that I can. Okay, so back when, you know, there was the famine and the Great Depression in America, this boy and his family left New York, originally from Ireland, and then moved to New York to find a better life. And then when the Great Depression hit, they were struggling to survive. They asked for help from their family back in Ireland to bring them back to Ireland, and they went to Ireland. He was very, very young, and this story is from his account, and it's very raw, it's very real. You know, you hurt for this child. You know, he goes through some really horrible things almost straight out the book. I mean, the first 3 pages, my jaw was hanging open, and I really felt bad for this man, boy. So then it still tells a story of his life, I think, up until 1920. And you know, he does different things in Ireland to survive. At the time that Ireland was a very poor country, you know, the time of piss pots and I don't even know how to explain it. People dying from famine and consumption. Yeah, all sorts. They love that word in this book. But yeah, somehow he survives and he makes it to his 19th birthday, which was very surprising in my opinion. I was kind of just waiting for him to die the whole time, even though he wrote the book, because that was just the way the book was written. You were just waiting for something to happen to him. So I don't want to spoil it for you. Did I like this book? Yes, I quite liked this book. It was another one that was kind of frustrating towards the end. I don't feel like he wrapped it up enough. I mean, he had a long-standing goal from pretty much age, 5, 6 to 19. And in the end of the book, he achieved the goal. But then as soon as the goal was achieved, it wasn't followed up on. Like, what happened? Did he die? Did he get rich? Did he get married? You know, all these things that you wonder about. And it really just ended with a sex scene, and then that's it. So, would I recommend the book? Yes. I'd say a good 9 out of 10 for this one. I quite liked this one. Other than the ending. The ending was disappointing, but I understand that that's just the way it has to be sometimes. How could the writer have improved the book? Definitely just that. Following up a bit more on the end, giving me peace of mind so I can sleep at night. Thank you, please, Frank. Next, Blackeyed Susans by Julia Heberlin. Sorry if I butchered that. Okay, I'll read the description. I am the star of a screaming tabloid, headlines and campfire ghost stories. I am one of the 4 Blackeyed Susans, the one lucky one. Left with 3 other girls in a grave shrouded by Blackeyed Susan, Tessa alone survives, and her testimony is helping to put a killer behind bars. But 16 years later, he is about to be executed. Tessa feels no relief because someone is planting Blackeyed Susans outside her window. Someone is sending her daughter sinister message, and there's a lawyer telling her the man about to be put to death is innocent, which can only mean one thing. The wrong man has been sentenced, the real killer is still out there. Tessa might not be the last Blackeyed Susan. Okay, where do I begin with this book? This book had me stressing, okay? Good book, good read, interesting, but a lot of things that were really, really annoying. Okay, so the story begins as her account as a 16-year-old when she is found after she is kidnapped, presumed dead, and put in a grave, left to die with other women, girls. So, you know, she's found alive, she's taken back home, and they're working on trying to salvage what is left of her to be human again because she's so damaged. Now, I don't want to spoil it for you, but as it's telling her story, it leaves out so much. Like, I caught myself thinking more than once, like, they were just talking about this. Are they going to fill me in? Is that just forgotten about? Like, I'll say she has bits of memory loss, which is to be expected because she had a head injury. But she has bits of memory loss, and she knew what had happened, but she was telling the adults in her life that she didn't know what happened, and that just frustrated me so freaking much. I mean, literally, another book that didn't wrap up until last, I don't even know, probably the last chapter. And I don't know why I keep reading because it frustrates me so much, and I just keep doing it to myself. I'm going to go in the library and I'm going to specifically ask for books that don't wrap up in the last chapter, please. Okay, so, I mean, it's interesting, it's frustrating at some parts because you just feel yourself not relating to this person. Like, I wouldn't do that. Why did you do that? Like, I wouldn't say that. Why wouldn't you say that? You know, it was very frustrating in that way. And you were like looking through the eyes of a 16-year-old girl, but I was 16 not that long ago and I wouldn't act like this girl. I was like, you know, and like, throughout the book, her best friend disappears and she's just like, you know, oh well, I don't get it. Would you not want to know? Okay, would I recommend it? Yes. I would say that although it was frustrating, it was still good. Probably an 8 or 9 out of 10. How could the author have made it better? Definitely tying up loose ends as they come up in the book. I still had some confusion at the end of the book where I think things weren't covered. They weren't, you know, but I can't discuss it without giving the book away. Like, so many parts of the book would be spoiled. But if you read it, tell me if you can relate, because I definitely felt I had unanswered questions, you know, like, what the hell? Let me know. Okay, so these next books are the ones that I'm in the process of reading, but I haven't finished because either A, I just got them, or they're pissing me off and I don't know if I want to finish them at all. The next one is the super hot topic right now, the Handmaid's Tale. Now, I actually didn't know this was a book. I actually didn't know this was a book. Oh shit, it's by Margaret Atwood. I didn't know this was a book, as I said, fucking hell. I actually watched it on Netflix first, and the show was really disturbing. So when I saw the book in the bookstore, I was like, yeah, I'll try it, you know. But the book is like really hard to follow. Just the things she says, and like the religious terminologies of the religion that is created within this book. I will read the description to you if there is one, actually. Okay, yeah. The Republic of Gilead offers Offred, which is the woman the book is about, only one option: to breed. If she deviates, she will, like all dissenters, be hanging at the wall or sent out to die slowly of radiation sickness. But even a just these words, man. A repressive state cannot obliterate desire, neither Offred nor that of two men on which her future hangs. That really tells you nothing. Okay, so it's in the future when women can't have babies anymore. So this guy, I don't know if he's like a member of the government or he like infiltrates the government, but shit starts going tits up, and this guy just takes over and he starts laying down these new rules when the world's falling apart. I think they said that the youngest child was like 19 now, and there was no new people being born, people were dying, the world was panicking. You're talking about mass wars, looting, corruption, death, murder, all those things. And so this guy, he infiltrates the government or the people in charge, and he says, you know, we need to go back to the Bible, and women are just for breeding. If they're corrupted by television and magazines and showing their ankles. So they make them wear these little outfits right here. And yeah, it gets really messed up, really freaking messed up. I'm more than halfway into it, and honestly, I don't know if I should finish it or not. But yeah, they're made to wear these clothes, and women are assigned to each men's house that has some sort of political standing or importance. And although these men have their own wives, it doesn't matter because they can still lay in bed with these women and try to make them pregnant and have their baby. And for whatever reason, you know, it doesn't always work. The women can't get pregnant, they miscarry, whatever. And they're just treated like slaves, like, you know, slaves back in the day. And it's just crazy. And there's some women who are young who are raised like that and know no better. And yeah, I haven't finished it, so I can't tell you the story. But they even give her like a new name and stuff. Like she can't use her old name because it's a name of sin. It has to be biblical. And yeah, it really messed me up. The show messed me up. I didn't finish the show, and I didn't finish the book. The book and the show are on totally different wavelengths, for the record. If you're going to do either the book or the show, I don't know. If you like a challenge, do the book. If you're a simple person, do the show. But both will disturb you because they are disturbing. It's a disturbing thought to think about. But yes, would I recommend it? I don't know, 7, 6. Not one of my favorites. I love the idea. I love the originality. I love the concepts. But just the way she goes about telling the story is extremely hard to keep up. It's obvious. It's like in third person, and she's telling it in her own mind and in her own way, and it's just not filling in enough to build a good storyline and understand what's going on and what's being said. So it's really hard to keep up with, but if that's not something that worries you, then yeah, I do recommend. One of the hardest books I've read to try to keep interest in, and I failed. I literally lost interest in it. How could the writer make it better? More consistency in her writing. I mean, and by that I mean just so hard to understand. Things are, I wouldn't say poorly described. She has an odd manner of writing. It's not like any other book I've read. The way she describes things, the words she uses, she's very blunt in some ways, and lack of description. You know, you either get it or you don't kind of book. And like I get the main story, the big picture, but the little things, the facts that are probably important for the main storyline just kind of slip through the cracks because the storyline is muddled. Whatever, I don't know. Will I finish it? I don't know. Take from it what you may. Okay, this is a new one that I got. I'm tearing through this one. I really like it so far. We got Banksy by Will Ellsworth Jones. Okay, so I won't read the back of the description for this because it's a mile long. But for someone who shuns the limelight so completely that he conceals his name, never shows his face, and gives interviews only by email, Banksy is a remarkably famous person. From unspectacular beginnings as a Bristol graffiti artist, Banksy now sees his artwork sold in auctions for six-figure sums to hang on celebrities' walls. The appearance of a new Banksy is national news. People queue for hours to see his latest exhibits, and his documentary, Through the Exit Through the Gift Shop, was nominated for an Oscar. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so Banksy is a graffiti artist in America. Well, he's been in New York, London, and Brisbane, and he paints, or whatever you want to call it, graffitis, pieces that are typically controversial or enlightening, interesting, not like anything else you've seen on the streets. I'm actually very interested in Banksy, which is why I picked up this book, because I love his pieces, the pieces that I've seen. And he's actually been doing his art since like the 1990s, long before I was born, maybe the late 80s. Honestly, I didn't know those things about that. I didn't know that he's been going that long, that his technique has changed. You know, he's doing things differently. I mean, if you don't know anything about Banksy, look up some of his pieces. I'm sure you've seen them somewhere. I mean, Banksy is big news right now. You can get his prints, you can get his signatures, you can get his art. But the thing about Banksy is nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows. If there's more than one person, if he's having help. He's done a few interviews by email, but he never shows his face. Nobody knows how old he is. And it's really interesting that somebody who has done something for so long doesn't do it for the profit of things. Now, the book has an interesting take. It talks about people who do graffiti alongside of Banksy, who were there from the beginning as well, up and coming, you know, saying that he actually does do it for the money. He just does it in a way that's less obvious. You know, he's corrupt as everybody else, blah, blah, blah. You know, you're getting different opinions from different people, except Banksy himself, you know. And the author, I can appreciate, he makes it a big thing about the story. He has no interest in knowing who Banksy is, just like I, in a sense, don't want to know who he is, because it ruins the mystery. And I would much rather not know who he is, because, you know, he doesn't want people to know, so why spoil it? I love his art. I appreciate, you know, the thought he puts into him, and the fact that he's not afraid to do something that is viewed as illegal to get his art out, and takes no profit, or next to no profit, or unintentional profit from it. I mean, he does donate it. He donates to charities. He's arranged, like, what do you call it? Events, like charity events. You know, people come and perform, and he donates art and stuff like that. You know, he does things anonymously behind a curtain to raise money for this and that. And I think it's really interesting. So far, the book is really good. Very interesting. I look forward to reading the rest of it. I didn't know that it covered Banksy, new Banksy, which I guess is somebody who's imitating his work, whether it's him as a new take on his styles, or if it's an imitator, somebody who wants to piggyback off his fame. I don't know. Keep you posted. Okay, 2 new books I haven't started yet, but I will get to them. We've got The Hidden People by Alison Littlewood. Tragedy is only half a step away. Does this have a description? Basically, this is just girls going missing in a very old town, and fairies were blamed. So I don't know much about this. Like I said, I haven't read it, but I look forward to. Have you read it? Can you tell me about it? Next, we have Gone. The Gone series by Michael Grant. Now, this is a series. There's a lot of books in this series. I think I saw like 7. So this is what I like. I mean, if I can get into it, it's almost like a story that never ends. You can just keep picking out the books and keep going. I love stuff like this. I really like books that have a series. I haven't started it, but this says, in Perdido Beach, all the kids under 15 have been trapped, cut off from the outside world. Sam Temple and his friends join the fight for survival, but when some kids start to develop strange powers, everyone is forced to choose a side. Suddenly, it's a world without adults, so all the adults disappear and there's only children left, and some of them are freaking magic. So does that not sound like a cool book to you? I'll let you know. Okay, do you have recommendations? Do you disagree with any of my views on my books? Do you think there's anything that I should read? Do you think there's books I should avoid? Should I avoid this one? Should I avoid this one? Tell me. Bye.